So obviously grew up very like religious. My mom was always a big thinker, which is where I get like my thinking from. So I slowly watched her like just through her thought process go through everything. And then my stepdad came in the picture. He's very like also an open thinker.
Okay.
So after he came in, I sat down, had a lot of conversations with him and just with myself as I was like growing up, living my life. I mean, I've read the Bible twice. I've read other religious texts as well because I don't like to go into anything blind.
Okay.
So for me, it's
I respect
like
that.
I can't just be like Jesus is the way and like that's it. Like
Okay.
I had to learn like what is it about the Muslims that's different? What is it about like Buddhist, Confucianism, stuff like that. And it kind of left me where obviously I believe there is something greater than us, something that connects everybody, and like there is a way that you should live your life.
Okay.
Now, do I think that Jesus is the answer? Like you're going to hell if you don't believe in Jesus, if there is a hell? No.
Okay.
Now, I do think he is one of the greatest thinkers and role models that the world has ever seen.
Okay.
And that's something that, like, even in the Muslim texts and the Muslim religion, like, they value and respect him very highly. They just do not think he's the Messiah.
Okay.
So he is a great example of how you should live your life. But even like Muhammad, they don't treat him as like the Messiah. They just think Jesus and Muhammad are very great prophets. So I value a lot of the lessons and the thinking, but at the end of the day, I also kind of see him as like a salesperson in a sense. So being in the sales world,
Okay.
one thing that I also do like sales coaching now
Okay.
and like life coaching.
I peeped. Yep.
So I tell people a lot, like, do not ever beat yourself up if you're not selling every customer you talk to.
Okay.
Because Jesus was the greatest salesperson the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
33% of the world is Christian.
Yeah.
Which
for
means
sure.
if Jesus was like damn near a perfect example of how you should live your life and what perfect looks like, he's only closing at a 33% ratio. If you're only closing at 10%, you are still doing better than closing at 0. Like, as long as you're trying, you're doing it.
Okay.
So that gave me the perspective of the fact that, like, all religion is just a way that lives, that, like, you can live your life according to your values and morals.
Okay.
So I think the way he decided to do it, he essentially just, like, closed people on this is the right way.
Okay.
And, I mean, I value that. I'm not sitting here, like, Jesus isn't real, don't go to Jesus. Yeah. Like, wherever your heart takes you and whatever it is that you need. Like, Jesus has helped me out a lot in my life, too. Like,
Okay.
growing up Christian and, like, following the Bible and stuff like that, like, it's done wonders for me in my life. I just don't like religion.
Okay.
I'm not against belief. I'm against religion. Organized religion.
Okay. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I would not even say, I mean, like, obviously, to, like, claim what I claim, like, I do clump myself into Christianity.
Yeah.
But I do have a massive issue with organized religion. And Christianity on its own has so many deep issues, just even in the fact that there's so many denominations.
Yeah.
There's so many beliefs.
I tell people that all the time, especially when it comes, like, I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
Like, my household was Catholic, but, like, there was Christians in my family.
Okay.
And then, like, you run into people in the outside world, and, like, Christians do not like Catholics.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You're the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, the original Christianity was literally just a king that wanted a divorce, and the Catholics don't believe in divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Catholics believe, like, you made a promise to God, you fight through it, you figure it out, there's no reason you should get a divorce.
Okay.
A king wanted a divorce, created his own branch, and now that's where we have all the Christian denominations. That is the only difference. Every single time somebody's like, I don't like this, a new denomination starts.
Yeah, there's a massive disagreement on, and it's still going.
Yeah.
Like, it's, Christianity's been, I mean, it's our timeline. Like,
Literally.
been here forever. And, well, to us, I guess. But, like, still now, like, even the Methodists just split.
Yeah.
Like, there's, I don't even know what they're called. But, like,
yeah, no, it's like, that's why I don't like organized religion, because to me it's like a cult more than a way to live. So when you're going and somebody is like, this is what you should be doing,
mm-hmm.
this is how you should live your life, there is no other way,
mm-hmm.
to me that's a cult.
They're from Christian POV, that it is actually a major design flaw
Yes.
in the way that we live. Because, I mean, there's even like, I don't know if you know the story and I don't know it well enough, but when Jesus met the woman, the Samaritan woman, I'm pretty sure, at the well, and she had 5 husbands, and she was like, and he's like, I'm the Messiah. And she's like, yeah, I don't really care, because it's all of these rules and it's all of these things that I'm never going to achieve what you need me to achieve. And he was like, it's not about the rules. He was like, what I'm here to do is not the rules. And I think one thing that Christian people have an issue with is we are called to judge each other.
Yes.
So like if my brother or sister in Christ is sinning, it is my job to be like, hey, you're doing this. But we're specifically told you don't judge people outside of that.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they're doing. How do you know what you're doing is wrong? It's my job to like spread this information and then hold you accountable. Yeah. Holding someone accountable to something that they don't believe nor accept or can really comprehend. Not because you can't understand, but you don't understand the depth of why I feel that way.
Yeah.
And like I can even just say that from even before I was a Christian, and people would be like, "Nuh-uh." And I was like, I really don't care. Because like I can see where you're coming from, but that depth comes with your spirituality. So when you hold people to these standards, it drives people away. Yeah. And I think that's the exact opposite of what you should do.
I think the worst one is when I see Christians tell people what you're doing is wrong, you're bound for hell. Because in my eyes, if you are following God and following his way, then the number one rule is you are not God. Mm-mm. So are they worse for doing what you consider a sin? Or based on your own religion, are you worse for condemning them to hell and playing the role of God in that moment?
That one is one you have to sit on for like a long time. Because also in faith and in belief, there's no sin that is greater than another. Yeah. You shooting my grandma is I'm sorry. Such an extreme. Like, is the same as me lying. Yeah. Over I stole a lollipop. Like those are equivalent. A sin was a sin.
It's just like it's a morality thing. It doesn't. It's all perspective. You know, like you back shooting the grandma. Like
sorry, I chose such a volatile example.
To me, if I don't even like my grandma, never met my grandma, whatever the situation is, you could shoot her and I could give a fuck. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter. Yeah. But now all of a sudden, that's my favorite lollipop. It's the last one I have. Yeah. They stopped making them. Can't buy it anywhere. Yeah. That might be a greater like moment to me than you shooting my grandma. Yeah. So I do love that about like Christianity, is that there is no sin that is greater than another.
There's always redemption.
Yes.
There's always redemption. Like I could run with that information, but there are some people you will meet, like even me, myself, and I grew up Christian, was raised Christian. Both of my parents were always on very opposite sides of the spectrum. Like one was super into their faith while the other one was not at all. Yeah. So that like in the doctrine and like what you're supposed to do is not at all how that should be, because your children have no idea what's going on and you're unequally yoked, right? Yeah. You're not following each other. And that... So, like, I grew up in a Christian house. I went to church. I went to private school, like, the whole nine, right? Yeah. And then I was like, no, I think this is dumb. Yeah. I've never spiritually connected to what these people are talking about. Like, I don't get what you're saying. And, like, truly did believe y'all were just following what somebody told you to do. And also kind of fear-mongering. That was my perspective. You're fear-mongering. You're not, if I don't do this, I'm going to hell. Obviously, I don't want to go to hell. Like, obviously, I don't want to do that. So, yeah, like, I completely jumped the ship, slammed the door. I was, like, literally could not even sit through an Easter service without laughing, because I thought it was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Oh, I lost my train of thought. What did you say right before that? I was going to get to a point. Oh, redemption, redemption. But I think one of the things that I will be sorriest, if that's a word, for the rest of my entire life is that when I left Christianity, I took people with me. I looked at people who loved and trusted me and looked up to what I said and was like, actually, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And I took people with me.
And I had that issue too when I like steered away from it. And then like as I grew spiritually, because I mean, I'm a big believer, like the goal is to grow spiritually. The goal is to be the best person that you can be regardless of what your faith, beliefs, and religion is.
Absolutely.
So obviously I continue to grow, and as I did that, I realized like even if that is what I decide and I steer away from it, I can't make that decision for other people.
Yeah.
So now I'm very big on like, here's where I stand, find where you stand. I'm never going to tell you what's right and wrong. All I can do is tell you my perspective.
I think that it's also really important in these situations in the fact, like knowing, and everybody has this some way, somehow. Everybody has a power some way, somehow, a gift this way. But understanding how powerful you are. If I say this to you, you're going to take this.
Yes.
And you're going to hear it and you're going to think about it. There are people who say things to me on a very regular basis and I'm just like, and I walk away.
I talk about that all the time. Like one of my favorite songs is I Am a God by Kanye.
Okay.
Because he literally talks about that. Like he's like, I am a God even though I'm a man of God. Because it's like,
interesting. Okay.
in your own life, you are the God. Like you control everything that happens to you, all of the outcomes that come your way, like who you're going to be, and you have a sense of control in everybody else. Like it played with me in a bad way at first when like I came to that thought, because it's like the world is all manipulation and lies.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, like that is just the way of the world. So the only thing you can do is make sure that if you are going to have that impact and that control over something, make it the best you can. So it's like, I mean, new restaurant opens up, you've never been. I'm like, oh, it's great. You're going to want to try it.
Yeah.
So unconsciously, that's a sense of manipulation. You're playing that role of God and like playing into somebody's decision. If we never had that conversation, it is completely up to you. That's why I'm also very big on like the less you say, the better, because then you allow people to make their own decisions fully. So like I see it with like parents, like especially like, I mean, me and my mom, like we do it as a joke, but even as a joke, like sometimes there is that fine line where she'll like, I'll do something and I'll be like, oh, I can't, I'm busy. And then like a little toxic joke, because that's just how we joke around with each other. But then sometimes like I actually do like leave and I'm like, damn, like, am I fucked up for that?
Okay.
Like it makes me question myself. And she does it for that too. Like she's had that conversation with me. Like I'm not meaning to be toxic. I just want you to like think about things. So then it's like, do I really want to go out and party with my friends? Am I fucked up for like leaving my mom even though she wanted to hang out? And I start actually thinking things through. But there is that very fine line of like how she does it. Because if she crossed that line all of a sudden, then it is toxic and manipulative. And all of a sudden, like, she is not allowing me to make my own free decisions.
Well, I think that's significant, even in we as people and how God put us here and why. We were given the choice of free will. You can choose this or not.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people have the question of, one way to put it is, if God, why evil? Or another way is that if God loved us so much, why would he let us go to hell? Why would he let these bad things happen?
So that one to me is a really big one. Because, like, I mean, it's literally, like, written in the Bible. Like, God is a jealous God.
Okay.
And to me, that was one of my biggest questions when I, like, steered away from it, is the story of, like, Adam and Eve. Like, okay. God is a jealous God. God did this, put this here, gave them the free will. Basically, like, I mean, it's in the Bible. Like, God gives you free will for that reason. Like, he wants you to be your own person.
Well, to to choose to be there. It's not real. The love is not real. The faith is not real if you don't have a choice.
Yeah, but the whole apple thing. If you eat this apple, I mean, to dumb it down, you eat the apple and all of a sudden all God knows. You are no different from him. God is a jealous God. He does not want you to do that. Mm-hmm. I just find it kind of comical that if God is so loving and so caring, why is there that sense of jealousy written into the beginning of the story to where he wants you to be everything but him?
Why do you perceive that as jealousy? Why is that a perception of jealousy?
Here's this apple. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, except for the fact that if you eat it, there is no differentiation between you and I. You ate it. Now you damn near are God. Just like me, I am condemning you to a life here full of sin.
So that's a good one.
And then even with fucking the devil and Lucifer, the only child he had that questioned his way and wanted to actually do something for himself, maybe question a little bit, like, why is this right or wrong? I mean,
he wanted God's place. That wasn't a question.
Subjectively. So, I mean...
Okay, I'll give it to you.
I say subjectively just because, like, they are all biblical stories. Mm-hmm. So, like, it is a story. But, I mean, he did want his place. That's, like, literally how it's written. But there is a side of, like, say... you grow up, you have a child, like, I would want my son to have my place. I want to raise my son to be the man I am and better. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how it's supposed to go. He should have my place. At the end of the day, I am supposed to be replaced. I'm supposed to create the opportunity for better.
Okay.
So, at what point is that fine line of control crossed? The second that God felt like it was crossed, and he felt his control being tampered with, he basically said, fuck you, go to hell.
I don't think that there is the ability to actually tamper, but I don't perceive that as jealousy. I perceive it as protection. Have you ever seen Rick and Morty? This is a terrible...
Yes, I know exactly what you're going to get to.
With Juriki?
Yes.
When he put his head in, he literally blew his brains out.
Yeah. And I get that because I do talk about that a lot, even with like shrooms. Like, I just had this conversation. Who was it? I forgot. I had the conversation with somebody though, where like shrooms are a great thing. They are like great in spiritual guidance. They are not for everybody because not everybody can handle that amount of like internalized knowledge. Okay. And I think in a way, yes, it is a sense of protection if you know all that God knows. Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer that people that go psychotic and like end up in mental hospitals are just people who couldn't comprehend and grasp their own reality. Okay. So obviously, yes, I do see that. But at the end of the day, like, is it protection or does he just not want you to know otherwise? Because like I've had conversations with people that don't believe in hell or heaven, God or the devil. And every single time that they get to that, they're always like, literally the only difference is one questions, one doesn't. Like, the whole depiction of God is be obedient, and the whole perception of like the devil is question. Like, figure out what you truly want.
I think that is... I'm trying to word this in a way that would be able to be receptive and not sound insane.
We're all insane.
I think that is the evil aim, for you to believe that.
Yeah.
The idea, so like, I mean, and again, this is my belief, like this is what I go off of, right? So if you read throughout the Bible, and we can look at this puppy, and clearly I'm not super far, right? So like, but like I got enough to be like, okay, like way more to go. But you gain God's character and also Satan's character. Yeah. Throughout this. Satan's goal was to be Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, was to be God. Yeah. And God was like, can't do that, get out. Yeah. And now Satan has his domain of where he is the leader of what he's got, right? The idea that Satan is freedom and God is obedience and is jail, kind of, in that sense of like, I have no obey or else, right? I would jail, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the goal for you to think that. Because why would somebody who, it even says like, Jesus very explicitly says that he respects people who question, ask questions.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And I tell people that all the time because I run into people that are like, I'm questioning my faith. And I'm like, you should.
You should.
He wants you to.
Yeah. Have that conversation.
Yeah.
I think when you, by no means, and I would agree with you, and I think that this is a big question too and struggle that people have, is that like, why do good things happen, or why do bad things happen to good people? Following God is not an easy course. I will even tell you, like, in the beginning of my faith, when I was trying to grasp, do I really believe this? Do I at all? Like, This is insane. Was when I started walking this way, I was like, my life is substantially harder than it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Because nothing good ever comes easy.
No, not at all. It is hard. Following a religion is very hard. And following anything is very hard, especially when it's something that's going to, like, take over your life. And I don't mean that in a sense of, like, it's going to fucking control you, but just, like, if it's going to be the way you live your life and the way you decide to, like, lead other people and, like, how you're going to, like, base your morality, it's going to take over your life. And to actually follow something all the way through like that is difficult.
Yeah. Well, it's also, like, to bring it back to the other point of that, Satan is free. Question your thoughts. If I could be free all of the time and live off of, I would even argue that, like, my own testimony of that the time when I was completely faithless and, like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I was really good with myself. My life was working out beautifully.
Yeah.
Doors opened, all of this was great. And eventually that ran short.
Always does.
Because what else do you have? But I think that if somebody told me, you can do this, you can figure out your own way, and you should figure out your own way. You should perceive this, you should take this into your own perspective. But don't just be a sheep. Literally think with your noggin. But go, be free. This will work out. Things will be hard sometimes, but this will be good. I would ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Because what's at the end of that rope? There's no way you're offering me everything I could ever want peacefully. This is going to work out for me. And just good and dandelions in the end.
Yeah.
That's just not how things work in our own world, let alone the spiritual one.
Yeah. But, so, at the end of the day, that is kind of the reason a lot of people seek the answers in God or seek the answers in religion, because subconsciously people have that thought, like, what is at the end? And a lot of people cannot handle the idea of nothing. So I listen to a lot of, I'm not sure if you know who Neil Tyson DeGrasse is.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, his whole thing, like, obviously he's into, like, Scientology, and he thinks religion is, like, whatever. But he has said it many times, like, not a lot of people can mentally handle living their entire life knowing that there's nothing in the end. And I think that is the reason a lot of people steer towards religion. And I've seen it, especially at our age. We're at that age where, like, a lot of people are going to make those decisions on how to live the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that a lot of people who question a lot and cannot live every single day knowing that it's for nothing always turn towards religion, because it gives you that answer. You are not wasting your time. You are doing this to end up in the kingdom.
That is still a very shallow thought process, because even as faithful as I could be, there's no way for me to prove this to you.
Yeah.
There's no way for you to go to bed peacefully at night with faith is believing without seeing. There's no way for me to be like, yes, you are going to go to heaven. Yeah, you are. There's no way for me to do that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm very like, I'm never going to be the person. I could end up fucking, what do they call it? Satanism. Like, I could end up in Satanism, and I'm never going to be like, oh, no, you're wrong because you follow Jesus. Like, no, I can't prove to you, like, what I believe, and you can't prove to me what you believe. The only thing we can do is, like, follow what works for you and helps you create the best version of yourself. Which, like, one of the biggest difference between Muslims and Christians is that the Quran is very black and white.
Okay.
Like, the Bible really isn't. The Bible is written metaphorically to teach you lessons.
Yeah.
More than it is, like, right and wrong.
Yeah.
So, like, Muslims, black and white. This is right, this is wrong. This is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. Eat this, don't eat this. Treat people like this, don't do this. And the Bible is very, like, here's a story, here's a lesson. Take your perspective, live the best life you can. And that is why a lot of people will go from Christianity to Muslim. You rarely see Muslims turn Christian.
Yeah.
You will see Muslims start to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, but very rarely do you see them culturally and like day to day turn Christian for that reason, because it's still, Christianity is my favorite religion out of like the Abrahamic religions, at least.
Okay.
For that reason, because it still gives you the ability of like free thought. It's still very like be human, use your brain, and everything else is very like black and white. You do this, don't do this. So I think with that, like you said, there's nothing you can do to really prove it. So literally the only thing you can do is just lead by example.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I say all the time, like, do not do things that people are doing if you wouldn't want to end up like them. And I think that's the best way to like spread the word if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to see somebody who's like walks into every room and they're like shoving Jesus down your throat.
Okay.
Because if anything, that's going to turn certain people away from it.
Yeah, it's like what I told you, or what I said earlier about judgment.
Yeah, like it's going to turn people away from it.
Yeah.
Because then you're giving that sense of cult. What you have to do is just walk into the room, be the most outstanding person in that room, and then lead by example. Like, be somebody that people want to mimic.
Yeah.
And then people will start to like ask you questions, and then you answer them, and then they will find their way themselves.
I think one of my favorite things that I've ever heard in the conversations of I believe this, I believe that, of like whether heaven or nothing. If my faith was wrong, I lived my life this way my entire life, and I died, and there was absolutely nothing. Okay.
Literally.
All right. But if I'm right and you're wrong, that sucks.
Yeah.
And so, like, there is the ability to be like, not okay. And I can see the ability. We do stuff all of the time that has no point.
Yeah.
It shows up in nothing. Like, but especially, dare I say, now just even being on our phones, waste of time, waste of nothing. Anyways, me guilty of that as well.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we all are.
I think about that a lot. Anyways, super side note bar. But it's okay to be like, you can't, or have the thought process of I'm going to look this way because I cannot deal with the fact that there is nothing, right? But, oh, where was I going? Hold on, sorry. Oh, hold on, get there. Anyways, don't remember, it wasn't going to be that hard of a thing anyways. But the other thing, if there is nothing, I want to have that conversation with you because how'd you get here? Life is so complex. If there is nothing, then what was the starting point? How did everything get to? Everything has an end and a beginning.
Yeah.
Everything conceivable.
So what really fucked with me
Okay.
is listening to podcasts with like Neil Tyson and like a whole bunch of like Scientology people, is the fact that the science points to there is no beginning and end. It's all a cycle.
Okay.
So apparently the Big Bang was one of many.
Okay.
So according to them, the science points to the fact that at some point everything will cease to exist and will be nothing for a certain amount of time until everything is again.
Okay.
And it's just like an ending cycle, or a never ending cycle. And like, I'm not saying that's what I believe, because I mean, my beliefs are very, if I could start my own religion, bro, I totally would. Like, so convinced of that. I totally would, because I don't believe anything too much. So I won't walk around and say like, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm like follow Scientology. I like to take the bits and pieces of everything that are the same and choose that to be the way I live. Because that's really all it is. Like, there is something that's the same in every religion. And I have, like, as I've read Confucius books, as I've like looked into Scientology, read the Bible, Quran, all of it is just telling you to live a good life and be a good person.
What is a good person? What is a good person? What is a good life?
Subjective.
Exactly.
Very subjective. But like, the core lessons are the same. Don't hurt your neighbor. Don't treat people the way you wouldn't want to be treated. Like, try to put good out in the world instead of evil, basically. But where the differences is day-to-day life. That is literally the big difference between every religion, is just day-to-day life. At the core, they're all the same. That is why I will never judge somebody for believing different than another person. But if there is really nothing, then you might as well follow something. Because, I mean, like you said, you die and there's nothing. Cool.
Yeah.
You die and you actually end up in heaven. Cool. Like, as long as you lived your life happy, you're going to die happy anyways. So there's no reason that you should turn away from what you believe just because somebody believes otherwise.
Oh, no. I think even in like everything that you just said about how, not that you believe it, okay, of everything's a big cycle, right? And take this from, I'm a science major. I am a science person, right? Like, get me down into the mitosis of what's going on, right? Like, let me see. Yeah. So from that perspective, I cannot fathom having I think it takes more faith to believe that there is nothing than it does to believe that there is something.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
No, it really does. But then the other perspective is the fact that if it takes more faith and good things are hard, then logically everything religion tells you should point to believing in nothing.
I completely disagree with that.
Because if the point is to like do good because good is hard and good is the harder path, having that faith in nothing is the harder path.
I think it's the easier path. It doesn't require much thought. It doesn't require much belief is hard in anything. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I could have gone on for 2 more minutes saying the same thing, but yeah.
No, yeah. Belief is hard. And I mean, it's just really, to me, it comes down to how much can you handle before you lose your mind.
Okay.
So like, one conversation I had with somebody, and they're in the church, and they were telling me like they thought joining the church would make following their faith easier, and all it did was make it harder because you see all of these people and it just like brings room for more question. And he said his biggest problem was like good and evil.
Okay.
Like, if God is all powerful, I mean, it's the basic argument of if he is all powerful and all doing and all being, like, why does he allow evil in the world? Obviously, like, there's the answers to that or whatever. But then he was like, the big problem is that it is way too, like, random for good and evil to coexist. Here, I have it written down exactly how he said it. He said, if God and evil can coexist, the scale and randomness of suffering looks more and more like a godless universe, just out of like the randomness.
What do you mean by that?
So the way he explained it was like he was a math, like he majored in like math.
Oh, okay.
And stuff.
Math guy.
Yeah.
Statistics. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was
Okay.
something math related.
Okay.
So he's very, and this is why we had a good conversation, because I'm very big on like logic and numbers also.
Okay.
And if, based on the numbers, God and evil, or good and evil, coexist,
Mm-hmm.
and God is good,
Mm-hmm.
but he allows for evil to be there,
Mm-hmm.
the randomness and the scale of randomness points at a godless universe. Because there is no way in which God, being all-doing and all-powerful,
Mm-hmm.
can allow for such a random coexistence if he has his own turpitude of what is good and bad.
I don't think it's random at all.
I didn't hear what you said.
I don't think it's random at all.
There is that argument. That's what I said. I was like, what if it's not random?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, that's where the perspective comes in. But it has to be random logically. Because if it's not, then what is it? And if it's not, this is what he said. He said, if it's not random, then it paints a really sick picture of God.
Okay, hold on. Okay, no, actually, I don't need to fully talk with my hands. Evil is the absence of God. So God himself does not allow the evil. I think by a sense, we do. Of like, there are things that do happen to wonderful people, and like, which are not like we do. That sucked. And like, has its own like little thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything to you. But like, I think in those senses, or like in those scenarios, like Job is a good one to look back to, of like super, like God was bragging on Job. He was like, Satan, look at this guy. He's rocking socks. That's a righteous man right there. Like, heart that guy. And then Satan was like, but he wouldn't if you did this. So God was like, okay, do it. Just don't kill him. Don't hurt him. Like, whatever. Job had questions. Job was angry. Job was suffering.
Yeah.
And like, still, like, God does not necessarily like allow evil, and some by chances we do. We have to allow things to happen. Again, life can't be good, perfect, and wonderful, because your faith is not, it's not faith if everything was wonderful. If I became a Christian and my whole life worked out and I was all of a sudden a millionaire and I was never sad and all of these things and I had wonderful children and blah 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 blah, yeah, I'd stick to the path because I'm going to stay right here because it's good right here.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. But like, yeah, sorry. You seemed like you had a response.
No, I really didn't.
Okay.
No.
I don't think it's random, because like I even have the question of like me coming back to, just because of my own perspective, I have questions for people who are like agnostic. I'm like, again, because I'm here now, but, and even just in my perspective before, of things are harder, but I'm more whole. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's hard to explain to someone like this because it sounds like I'm trying to convince you. It sounds like I just believe this book and that's it.
Yeah, that's the hardest part of like religious conversations,
Like,
and conversations of belief.
You think that I'm just like, take this, go home, believe it, good. My mom puts it in such a wonderful way of that she wishes she could project of like how she feels. Like, even just in like the fear mongering, like when I would go to church, I would be like, why are all these people crying? Like this, like, it's not like, I could not wrap my hand around, and I just did not believe that there was any way that that was spiritual.
Yeah.
Until I was the one crying.
Oh, dude, literally, church gets me.
Like,
Every time I go to church, I sit in the back because I know there will be tears out of my eyes.
God told the pastor my business.
Bro, okay, that's a very big one too. So this same guy, he actually like started working in the church, and he is a non-believer now. So we had a really long conversation about this.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So he literally looked at me while we were talking, and he was like, do you think you could work in a church? And I was
Okay.
like, dude, I could make a killer pastor. And he was like, that is the problem. He
Okay.
was like, is people go there seeking help, and then they essentially get manipulated into believing this is right, because it sounds like God knows your business and the pastor knows what you're feeling and he is speaking for God. But it is like being it's like being like a psychic.
Okay.
Like you just say the right things so generally but so specific that it's going to connect simply because you are human.
Okay.
And he was like, and I just could not handle that. I could not handle people going in, leaving in tears, and then like thinking this is going to solve all of their problems just because he said the right things, and that is how he makes his living.
I would, again, hard failures in the church.
Yeah.
Hard failures on the pastor. The church that I go to, I love my church, okay? I'm on the floor crying, like
Oh, I literally cry every
like
time. It
but
never
every
fails.
single time. The pastor at my church openly gets up and like bears his cross every time and tells his story every time, because it's not, I can psychologically say this to you, I know what you're going through, or even that the pastor has like a closer tie, right? Like my faith could be deeper than yours and you still be the pastor. Like that's just not what it was. It's not a psychological thing. I think that we have this fellowship is important. Community is important. But I think that people have this false belief that just because I have fellowship, that somebody else is going to be able to solve this for me. You in that situation, it's one thing to go for guidance. It's one thing to go for counsel. It's one thing to go for somebody to pray and be with you spiritually and acknowledge and connect on a human and even spiritual level. But that conversation with that person, even if it did change your entire life, had nothing to do with that person. So like, you can psychologically speak to me, but it wasn't what you said, and you knew that what you were going to say was going to change my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because if you're a pastor, the goal is to get people.
Oh, yeah.
Like you are the leading person in that church. Your word should bring more people into this church than anybody else's.
Okay.
So in a way, that's literally his job, is to get people. So he has to like play that psychological warfare. He has to get you to break yourself down enough to be like, this is where I need to be. Even if that is simply just telling his story because somebody is going to relate. So you can't like do it and not try to get to people, or else you wouldn't be a pastor.
I don't necessarily think that it's an attempt to, like, some people for sure. Some people, maybe I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that.
I've been to some churches where I'm like, he should not be a pastor.
No.
Like, he's a lot more sick in the head than he's being given credit for.
Your goal is clear.
Yes.
Like, I don't necessarily think it's the pastor's job to bring people to them. I think it's the pastor's job to shepherd the people that he's got.
Yeah.
And in doing that good job, and in doing you've successfully done your calling, you are successfully working, people come to you. Because I've had one conversation with my pastor, like, to his face, and it was a thank you. Like, I was like, thanks. I just like went on about my day. My pastor has never once been like, and you, and like, because anyways, side point. But I think it's about shepherding the people, and that in that it's success, and in the like psychological, like psychic kind of thing, I think we can boil that down to we're all faulty in the same ways.
I mean, I say it all the time. It's a close or be closed world. Either like you convince somebody of what you believe, or you're convinced to believe what somebody else believes.
Okay.
And that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. Like, it just is how it is.
Okay.
And as long as you're doing, again, what's righteous, even if it's just for yourself, so that sounds bad. It has to be righteous for the whole and overall, but like, you grow up in a house that is completely non-religious, and if the righteous thing for yourself is to follow faith and follow God, then like, do that. But there's always that level of like close or be closed, whether it's God or not. And so back to the same conversation that I was having with this dude.
Okay.
Because I mean, I like to play devil's advocate always.
Okay, yeah.
So nobody ever knows what I actually really believe, because
Okay.
I can play both sides just
Okay.
fine. And with him, I was playing the side of like, what if God is the way? Like, why did you do all of this to get closer to God, and now you are turning away? Mm-hmm. Like, all for nothing. Mm-hmm. So I was like, sure, that is the case, but what about free will? Like, what about the fact that they chose to be there that day? They choose to believe. They're choosing to turn their life. The pastor is not holding them at gunpoint. Mm-mm. But came back at me with a great one. Again, if God is all doing, all being, and he did give us free will, then he didn't truly give us free will. He created a system, because if he knows what's going to happen, there is no real free will. It's kind of like, if God is all knowing, all doing, he knows if you're going to heaven or hell. So the point of the free will is nothing. He's just putting you in a rat trap and letting you run around thinking you have free will, but the entire time you're just in a really big cage. And then, hold on, what did he say? Oh, if he created us knowing who would suffer in hell, he chose a system where he chose who's doomed.
That is actually a question in faith. It's a complicated question. There's two sides of the story of whether or not you can choose and you can change your path, or whether or not God has selected people from the jump.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to decipher what you think. And I think so many of these questions, that I don't have an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something I can answer and make you feel better about.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, and a lot of people don't.
Like,
because it's not an easy question.
No.
Like, it goes back to the whole, like, is there something or is there nothing? Like, questions like that are not easy to answer. And that's where he got me. I didn't know how to answer it.
I can't, like, it's one of those things where it's like, ask.
Yeah.
Ask. That was one of the things that was really humbling to me when I'm telling you, I was fist fighting faith. I was like, there's no way. Like, you can't get me to believe this. Like, you can't do it. Like, no. Mm-mm. Like, and it was the question, if you have so many questions, go ask.
Literally.
Go figure it out. Because I'm the wrong person to ask. Even if I could tell you word for word, answer for answer, could flip through all of the pages and tell you exactly what God, Jesus, all the prophets, all of the disciples, if I could tell you what they said and all of these stories, I'm still going to fall short. They all, in some way, fell short. So, like, I can sit here and we can have this conversation and we can have testimonies and I can tell you, because I think a lot of people, it's not necessarily like, okay, belief in God and Jesus and anything else is a crazy thing to be like, yeah, I believe that. Like, yeah. That's a, whoa, right? But it's also, I think a lot of people, it's not, they want something more, right? Because there's no way that this life just came out of nothing. But they have problems with what the more is.
Yeah. Nothing is enough.
Like, I don't like that.
I don't mean that as like literally it's enough for there to be nothing. I mean, like, literally, like, no. Nothing is enough. Like, nothing will ever fulfill them.
Yeah. Like, yeah, no. And it's like, you have to sit there and you have to, some people have these stories where it's like, I expected a big fat giant story. I was just so in disbelief. I expected to have a story where it was like, and there was no way this was anything but God. Like, I waited and I waited and I waited for this big giant testimony of God to like pop up in front of my face and me be like, oh my, like, yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was so slow. And I think that's one of the things people struggle with, is that either way, this is a lifelong battle of what you choose to believe or not. And it's like, again, I want to have this conversation. I want to, like, let's go through it. But I wish I could project onto you the way that this feels. Because if we logically have this conversation, we can logically have any conversation over and over and over again.
Yeah, with no answer.
No, humans are not logical.
Mm-mm.
Like, we can argue logic, and sure, logic is how it should be. Logic is how we can get to answers. And most of the time, probably should, right? But we are not logical at all.
So the conclusion I came to, and I love that you say, like, I wish I could project how I feel onto you, is that as humans, what we seek, we cannot get while we're alive.
Okay.
So that, like, immense sense of everything I need emotionally and spiritually, we cannot get that. I don't care if you have been married for fucking 90 years with this person. They know you more than you know yourself. Like, your parents, it doesn't matter. Nobody will ever be able to fulfill you emotionally and spiritually completely, because there is no two people that are alike in every way. And I think, so I actually came to this conclusion because I heard a lot, like, God is the absence of answers. So, like, Neil Tyson says that a lot. He'll be like, before people knew how gravity worked, the answer was God, and then we discovered how it worked. So I feel like that's kind of how it is, because yes, like, being in church feels gorgeous, and like the way you're saying, like, if I could project onto you how it makes me feel, that's literally all it is. Like, if you can't find it in life, you have to find it internally, and God and Jesus, or like Muhammad, whoever it is that you choose, will fill that for you.
Yeah.
Like, you will not be loved by a love that, in a sense, you are helping to create for yourself. Because the way that God loves you, you create for yourself.
Explain that just a little bit more.
So, like, there is no standard to how God loves. It is just known that he loves, and he loves powerfully, and he loves his children. So, in a sense, it's kind of like, think about it, like, let's say you were born and your mom died at birth.
Okay.
People can tell you the kind of person your mom was. People can tell you that, like, while she was pregnant with you, she, like, loved you, she would have done this for you, whatever. You will never know how she loved you. All you can do is imagine it and create it for yourself. So you can choose to live your life and be like, she loved me in a way that nobody will ever love me, and that fulfills me. People lack that with other humans, and I feel like that's why, like, having God in a household is really beautiful, depending on the relationship, because a lot of people can't manage, like, they can't love me like I need to be loved every second of the day.
Yeah.
When you bring God into it, you don't need them to, because God will love you that way, because you create how he loves you. So whatever you're lacking and you're needing will be there when you need it, if you allow it to be.
Okay, so I agree with what you're saying, except for I'm having a hard time with you create it. What do you mean by that? Like, you yourself, like, I created in me?
Yeah. Like, you literally create it yourself how he loves you. So, like, if you lacked a father in your home and, like, you didn't have that kind of love, then God fills that void, because you know how it needs to be filled. So you create that for yourself through him.
I think that if we were capable of, I do think that it is, what you're saying is absolutely right. If you are not fulfilled by literally God in this way, you're always going to be empty. You're going to look for God in other things. You're going to look for God in other people.
Yeah.
You're going to look for this fulfillment in other things. We are literally incapable of comprehending God's love in this way, because, like, it's just told through here.
Yeah.
And, like, your daily life and everybody's own personal testimonies. But it is impossible for me to comprehend God's love, let alone, like, I can't even comprehend God. Like, nobody conceptualize God's characteristics. You can't. It's too big.
Yeah.
It's beyond our comprehension. So the love is incomprehensible, right? But I feel like, in the sense of, like, so it is filled, but I don't think that we are capable of filling that, because if we were, we wouldn't look for this. If we were, we wouldn't still be empty. Again, in the time, like, me personally, I don't know other people's thoughts, but my perspective comes from that time. I was super good with myself. I was super good. I was super happy. Like, I was more in love with myself than I had ever been in my entire life. I was still empty. I still wanted more. I still needed something more. My relationship with myself good. But in that sense, it's completely different now, and I really can't even explain it. But that love is completely different with myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm way more fulfilled. If that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Because I get where you're coming from, because I went through something very similar. So in high school, like, I had a moment where I literally, like, could not handle myself, and I couldn't understand why, because I was so happy. I was so, like, in love with myself. Like, everything was right. And something was still so empty. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And I literally, like, broke down by myself, like, in tears. One of the most vulnerable moments I've ever had with myself. And literally, like, everything in me pointed towards, I can't fulfill it for myself. He has to. Mm-hmm. So literally that day, like, drove, got a Bible, like, everything, like, that same day. And I still, like, if you walk into my house, like, there's a Bible open, mm-hmm. like, right by the dinner table. It is that same Bible. Because, like, it was just, that for you. In that moment, like, there was no answer but God. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, obviously, since then, I've, like, questioned mm-hmm. and stuff like that. But there are times where nothing can fill it. Except the issue with that is, if it literally is such a moment of, like, nothing can fill it, then it's also hard to argue that it is true. But I think that's also the biggest issue, is that people seek for it to be true. Because, like, it's a cycle. The argument is a cycle. Like, back to the whole, like, God is the answer for the absence of answers. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, okay, we discovered how gravity works. What if it was still God? Mm-hmm. And then, what if it's not? So, like, why would you sit there your entire life with no direction, no sense of purpose, and no answers, mm-hmm. when you can just, like, choose what's going to fulfill you?
You're still going to be empty.
If you choose what's going to fulfill you?
I don't think that's a choice. Like, things are fulfilling. Things are fulfilling to you. But I don't choose that becoming a contractor is fulfilling to me, because it's not.
It has to be a choice, though. It never just happens. Well, okay. It might not be a choice in the moment, but it's a choice over time. So, like, okay. And your environment plays a huge role into it, too. Yeah. So, like, obviously, we grew up here. Uh-huh. If that moment does come, through your life decisions and the way your life played out, that choice is God. Because we live in a country of Abrahamic religions, whether it's through Muslim beliefs, Jewish beliefs, or Christian beliefs, uh-huh. It's going to be God, one way or another. Mm-hmm. If you grew up somewhere where the idea of God is not present, like, there's a lot of religions that believe that fulfillment has to come from within the self, mm-hmm. and that, like, God will not fill it for you because it is still fake. Mm-hmm. So you have to find what it is. So for a lot of people, it's like and especially at our age, I've had the conversation with people where they're like, I need to have kids because it's going to fill a void in me.
No.
And
don't do that.
No. You never should,
That's the wrong answer.
You should never have kids for a selfish reason like that.
No.
Like, at all. But I understand why they say that.
Okay.
Because they have no sense of purpose, drive, or direction, and now they're doing it for something else. Which is where it comes into play that, like, God fills that for you if you allow him to. There is no such thing as, like, following God if you don't allow him to guide you. Because it is, the way I see it, like, it is self-created. Because God is, like, and I say non-existent in a form of, like, physically.
Okay.
So because he is non-existent and he does not speak to you and he does not, like, come here and be like, okay, here's how it's going to go, you have to create it for yourself.
The sense of, like, God being fulfilling, right? That isn't every answer. That isn't, like, you can be whole through that and you will discover yourself in a completely different way, right? But I'm fulfilled through so many things now in this way and that way and whatever. But, sorry.
The train of thought.
There's, like, 48 thoughts going on in my head and, like, pinpoints. That itself, it's weird. That's the only way I can put it, is that it's weird. That the fulfillment that you have is completely different, but you still seek for more.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and in the terms of like, okay, but even in like my fulfillment and other things, right? Like I still need more. I need projection. I have to walk. God isn't moving my legs for me, right? I have to do that, and I have to like walk and be like, what's going on? Like, God definitely has like a will of like, that's why like the whole prayer of like, may your will be done for the betterment of you and for me, right? But because God's will be done either way, and you're either going to be on this side or that side, right? And God will fix it for you. Like, if you took the wrong step, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think my biggest problem with it, and this is one that just like every single time I have the conversation, regardless of what phase I'm in my life, is just the fact that like no evidence is so crazy to me. Like,
what do you mean?
Everything else, I mean, there's evidence, but it's like, in a way, lack thereof.
Okay, what do you mean?
So,
Tell me.
like, there's evidence of gravity. There's evidence of all of these things that we cannot see, cannot feel, cannot comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, true, concrete evidence that there is a God is so hard to find. Yet, the lack thereof also makes it hard to, like, question whether it's there. Because it is so, like, is it that way because God allowed it? And
The lack thereof evidence?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, to me, that creates a sick game.
Okay. So I would... First, I have two thoughts, chronological, okay? First one is that if you could find concrete, like, evidence, like, okay, God is there, what faith is that? That's the whole point, right? Like, what is that? If I could look at that and be like, oh, absolutely, this book is here. I don't have to go anything. I don't have to believe in anything. I don't have to walk in any guided way or faithful way to know that that book is there because I can see it. Yeah. That defeats the whole point, right? So I do think that there is a lack there of evidence in that way, because why would I just directly tell you? Like, that defeats the purpose, right? But also in the sense I would argue that there is a substantial amount of evidence for the proof of things that happened here.
I don't think anything in there is true.
Really?
Yes. There
There is so much evidence for these stories being true.
So, here's my thing about it.
Okay.
I don't think it's not true.
Okay.
I just think, and I don't want to say this and like this be exactly how you are, but like I hate to see somebody who is a believer and lives their life through the Bible.
Okay, what do you mean?
Be like the people who are like, if it's in the Bible, it's got to be right. Or like, I'm going to do what the Bible says to do.
Okay.
Because one, I think that's a terrible way to follow God.
Okay.
I think you should follow God for God and yourself, not through how you read that you should. Even though I know it's the text of the religion and the text of how to follow God, everybody forgets the fact that you don't know if that book is bullshit or not. Because the original Bibles were written in a dead language and were translated. So, I mean, fuck, if I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't really like the way you're doing things, but I speak Latin. So I'm going to translate it, and I'm going to change this here and change that there and change this here. Now I have created an entire different world.
That is plausible. Yeah.
And I hate that. Like, even if I were diehard, like, Jesus, God, I could never be somebody who lives my life through the Bible for that reason.
Okay.
Because I believe that if I am going to do it, I should do it through God, not through something so human and irrelevant to it all.
Human, I can see. Yeah.
So And I do recommend reading the Bible. Even to like people who don't believe in Jesus, I always say you should read the Bible.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, even though I don't see it as like the text of how to follow the religion, I see it as one of the most beautiful spiritual scriptures ever.
Okay.
And I think, personally, I think it's all metaphorical. But I think it has to be. Because like...
Metaphorical for what would be my question?
Metaphorical to how you should live. So, like, instead, you think back on, like, philosophers and, like, the people considered the greatest thinkers. Mm-hmm. People still don't really quite get what they're saying because it's hard to relate unless you're on the exact level of thinking. So it goes back to the point of I could sit here and try to explain something to you all day, and we still get nowhere. Mm-hmm. So instead of doing that, let me give you a story that you can understand, that feels closer to home, that puts you into that perspective, and all of a sudden, you get what I'm thinking better. So instead of saying all that you are is all that I tell you, the only thing you know is what's happening in this room, and everything else you just have to question.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to understand that you don't know what's going on down the road because you're not there, than to just be like, all that you are is all that. What does that mean?
Okay. I would ask you, because I got little ticks in my head, but I would ask you, okay, so if you don't think any of this is true, or it's all metaphorical, especially from somebody who is so logical, right? Because I have met people who have come to the deductive reasoning that logically God is the answer.
Yeah.
Like, the most logical people I've ever met in my entire life. Like, oh my God, yeah. I was sitting here like, I'm in love with Jesus. Like, this is good. We're on the same page. And you're sitting here telling me, like, logically, this is why I'm here. Like, okay. But other than, like, little historically, okay, other than, like, physical, like, scientifically, this is what happened and this is what this shows. The historical accounts of people from separate places saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. No, I don't think that they're not true people. Like, Jesus lived. Jesus was a real person.
Okay, yeah.
Like, all of these people in the Bible were real people. Now, if I am at that time, like just to put it into perspective, let's say I'm born, I'm Jesus, I play out his life. I was a thinker. I decided to tell people, here are my thoughts, here's how we should live, this is what you do to be a better person. Now I die, believing what I believe. All of a sudden, all of the people that I was following have to get together and be like, how can we keep this going? And then they create stories. So, like, for all we know, Jesus is real. Obviously, we know his goal, or not. For all we know, maybe he didn't even believe in God. It was just thrown in there. Assuming that all of this is true, my question is, did he really turn water to wine? Or is that just part of the metaphor?
I think that's even harder to digest because then you'd have to go through and figure out what all of these people were metaphorically speaking for. It's harder to go off of that route because if you wanted to keep this going, why would you not just say what he was saying?
I think it's perspectives. I think every book in the Bible is just a different perspective.
Oh, it is the Gospels
are
literally just 4 of the apostles' different writings of what happened. They were just 4 different accounts.
Exactly. So I think that's exactly what it is. It's just different perspectives. So I think that's why they wrote it the way they wrote it, is because, I mean, there's only so many perspectives you can have in life. Like, it sounds really shallow to say that, but there really is. Like, life really is, like, good and dark, light, like, good and evil, black and white, whatever. Now, there's obviously contrasts in between those. Like, you could believe this is good or that's good, but there's only so many perspectives you have or can have. So if you damn near try to bring all of them in, it's a much easier guiding tool. Because as you read the Bible, like, I think when you're reading the Bible is when you're supposed to question the most.
Yeah.
And as you're reading the Bible, it slowly answers itself. So you read something, and then you question, and then you keep reading, and the new perspective helps to answer that question. And that is, like, I think is one of the greatest things ever written for that. Because whether it is metaphorical or not, the way it is written and like the stories in it, and for people to be able to come together and really put something that perfect together that like can just grab the human in somebody is like unfathomable.
That's exactly, yeah. I think it's beyond human capability on its own, if that makes sense. For something to come together and paint a picture so perfectly. These were all discovered and all written in completely different times.
Yeah.
I think that is beyond human capability.
But we don't know that. That's like...
We don't know what?
We don't know that they were all discovered and written at different times. We're just told that after translation. That's my problem.
Well, you can like go back and you can see them. You can like see the texts. Like 1 Corinthians is in Ireland.
I mean, yeah, but we don't know what it says because it's a dead language.
I wish I could answer this. I don't have an answer.
I read this book called The Book of Disquiet.
Okay.
By Fernando Pessoa. And it's kind of, if there's any book ever that I will compare to the Bible,
okay,
it is that.
Okay. Why?
So essentially, he was just like a thinker, really.
Okay.
And the story to the book is like insane. However old he was when he died was how many years later the book was discovered.
Interesting.
Like perfectly aligned.
Okay.
And nobody knows if he actually wrote it or not.
Okay.
It was just in a chest, like hidden with a whole bunch of shit he wrote. He gives credit to the book to somebody else. There's no proof that that person ever existed. So it's kind of like an autobiography, but then also not, because he writes it through a third person perspective.
Okay.
And it's all metaphorical. It's all like the stories of somebody living.
Okay.
But it also seems to line up with his life.
Okay.
But he never mentions himself. It's all like the story of somebody else, and it's literally all just like thought. So the book is like, the entire book is a paradox, and it's kind of like the way I see the Bible. Is literally like in the book, he talks about how there is no purpose in anything.
Okay.
So he's like, there's no point in like drawing or writing or reading or like any of these stuff, because it's all for nothing, basically, because we're all gonna die, and there's gonna be nothing once we die. So like there is no point in doing any of this, but yet he was doing it. So it's like there's no point in writing and telling people all of this, but you're writing to tell people all of this. And then it's also like,
that's pretty cool.
I have to pull up like
that's pretty cool.
Give me a second. Like the amount of quotes from that book that are just like, it is the closest thing to what I think is perfectly written as the Bible that has not like within our lifetime. Okay. Or not our lifetime, like our time frame, because the Bible is like however old. But just the way that, and that book is part of the reason that, like you were just saying, it's not humanly capable, but it is, because it's been done. For something to just like grasp humanness that perfectly. And if I had never read that book, I am fully convinced that I would have just like taken the Bible and ran with it. But then I read that book and I was like, okay, it can be done. Like something written so perfectly that you question whether it was even human. And then I did my research on the book, and literally like people lose their mind reading the book because it is so human that they fail to comprehend and like fathom what is in this book. So for me, it became a thing of, if it can be done once, it can be done twice, which means it can be done again, which leaves the question of, is this really like real? Okay. Or was it lost in translation somewhere?
My thought to all of that information and what I consistently come back to in my head, and this might not make sense, and if it doesn't, let me know and I'll try, but how sure am I that this is not another version of manipulation?
Yeah.
I ask myself that question a lot. So, in my perspective, and so many people take this as crazy, and oh my goodness, I say all of this information as like I've been here since February. Like, you want some good answers, talk to people who've been in this boat for a long time. But I come from this perspective too. I also have these questions. I still have so many questions. I want to have this conversation because I too am thinking this, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think of these things as like, okay, if it can be done once, it can be done again. Something that I have seen and something that I have processed is that it's kind of like the good and evil thing we were talking about earlier, about how the looking at Satan as freedom and God as jail, right? In terrible wording. But I think that comes down to the same thing of that there's mimicry. There's an attempt of how willing or how hard is someone trying to turn your face the other way. Sorry. But it is... Can you hit that power button for me? Please.
Fucking with the ADHD.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I just couldn't do it. How hard is someone trying to get you to question if this can be done once, it can be done again, right? How willing am I to just pass off that this is manipulation?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my only thought to that.
And, I mean, it's definitely, so I'm a big devil's advocate person because I know that if life is manipulation, I want to manipulate myself more than anybody else can.
Okay.
So I want to create the most questions for myself.
Okay.
So that way I know that they come from me, which means if somebody else drops a question, I've already done that myself. So it's more like unique and my own perspective than it would have been if somebody else did and then they gave me their perspective. Because immediately, like, let's say I ask you a new question you haven't thought of.
Okay.
Now we're talking about it. When you go and think about it, you're going to think about the conversation we had. Before you even think about the conversation you would have had with yourself.
I think that I actually kind of love this perspective because, you know me, I love my questions.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. And something that I say, or something that I think a lot is that this is my answer right now.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's not necessarily the conversation we took. I love other people's perspectives because as far as I could push myself to think, as far as I could push myself to go, I am still incapable of thinking beyond myself.
And always will be.
Like, so, but other people's perspectives, I think, are invaluable for that reason. Because you opened my eyes to this whole other thing. But just in my perspective and myself, I don't ever take someone else's answer. I always take that answer and I'm like, okay, I want to tear that apart a little.
Yeah.
But like this conversation we're having is going to make me go think about this again. But my answer can change over and over and over again because somebody else's perspective was so otherworldly outside of myself that I thought about it again.
Yeah.
I think other people's perspectives are so important in that way.
So I just put up a couple quotes from the book I was talking about, but before I even do that, so let me ask you this, and this is also why I think this book was like fucking perfect. Now that you have found God, and like continued to live your life and explored new things, do you still lack the ability to see pictures in your head?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
Okay, awesome. Bro, I talk about that all the time and people are like, I don't get what you're trying to say. And I was like, bro, I know I've only met one person, one other person that also like knows what I mean.
Nope.
Fucking, yeah. And I was like talking to a psychologist about it.
Oh, were you really? What information did you get? Sorry.
It's called aphantasia.
Okay.
And it's like, I forgot what it was, but it was like the most minute percentage ever of people like in the world, like truly, genuinely, to that extent, lack the ability to see pictures in their head. Yeah, like nothing ever.
Nothing ever.
Bro. But that also is what made this book so, like, perfect. Because I feel like the fact that, I mean, even if you can see pictures as a human, I feel like it's hard to really like understand something you can't see. Just because we do like function with our senses, and thought is a sense.
Yeah.
This book, like the way he did everything was so unfathomable that it helps paint a picture without painting a picture.
Okay, gotcha.
So literally, like,
that makes sense.
when people talk about the book, it's literally like if you could walk inside your brain.
Okay.
That's how it would be.
Interesting.
So like he never said, like one of his quotes on, it says here, it's a quote on human condition and the self. He says, "No one understands anyone else. We are," as the poet said. Damn, it just scrolled away. Okay, well, I guess new one. So I have always found my awareness of suffering more painful than the suffering itself, because we never know self-realization. We are two abysses, a well staring at a sky. So it's like, if he just says that in any other words, it's so different. But because he puts something that you know into it, it makes it like a whole different thing. And he was very big on like life and reality.
Okay.
So another one that's like I absolutely loved, he says, "Life is a ball of yarn that someone got all tangled. It would make sense if it were rolled up tight or if it were unrolled and completely stretched out. But such as it is, life is a problem without shape and a confusion of yarn leading nowhere."
I'm very interested in this perspective of this book being, first of all, that sounds, I would agree, chef's kiss. Like, it is an interesting, that sounds like an interesting read, right? They have to put tools inside so bad. But that does sound like such an interesting read. And I'm so interested just to understand your perspective of why this book is comparable, right? And I even think that I like stuff like that just because that book, how you said that if you had not read that book, you would have ran with the Bible, right? I love that test of faith, right? Offer me that different perspective, push me in that way, right? That is, really interesting. I had somewhere else to go with that, but I forgot. So.
And really, I only think it's comparable because of the fact that it is like the way it's written. Nobody really knows anything about it. Nobody knows whether any of this is true or not. Nobody really knows who wrote it. Nobody knows what it means. It's all just metaphorical, and it's just stories. Like, it's the story of the character in the story works at a library, which apparently he did too. Okay. So that's why people like question what the fuck it is. And then like the way he ends the book is talking about how life is such, like, it's always unfinished. There is no way to truly finish life before you die. And then like the way the book sounds is like he has more to say after that. Okay. But then he died.
Interesting.
So when like people found the book and they were like deciphering it and like figuring out what to do with it, it was kind of like, that is so coincidental that the way he describes life to go is literally how it happened for him too. Like, he died super young. He was like 40 something.
Interesting.
In the middle of like writing all of this.
Oh.
And then like the way he ended the book was, it's always going to be unfinished. And the book was never finished.
Interesting.
So it never like, it's kind of like he walks you through figuring out how your brain works and how you think. And then right when you think he's going to be like, here's how you understand it all, there's no more to it. There is no more book.
Interesting. I'm very intrigued.
To put us back on track, I never even asked you what it was that like made that switch in you.
Okay, really? Okay, so funny story. I actually also take this as a testament to my faith, right? So I worked with Poogie, right? And we worked together for like a year before we were really like, you, hey, right? And we went to a bonfire, like it was like a company bonfire, and we were like going camping. And we started talking, and one of my biggest red flags at the time was that I would not date somebody who was a Christian.
Okay.
I was like, you're not going to get me on that boat. I'd rather just skip this part, right?
Okay.
So we were sitting there, and we were talking, and I was like, somehow got on like what we believed, right? And he was like, I don't consider myself a Christian. Like, I'm not a Christian. And I was like, okay, great. And took that as a super green flag, okay? Kept going forward. And then I was like, oh, I guess I like you, right? Never
I can tolerate you,
never,
sure.
never expected that to go that way. But, like, a couple conversations later, he, like, explained himself and was like, because he, like, would say things that, like, were faith-based. And I'd be like, didn't think you believed that, right? And he, like, explained himself of, like, I don't like organized religion. I don't like the name.
Yeah, that's how I am.
Like, but, yeah, this is what I believe, right?
So, and people always question me on that sense, too, because I'm the same way. I'm always like, not Christian. Like, I would, currently, present day, I don't know where I'll end up.
Okay.
But I would identify more as agnostic.
Okay.
But I say a lot of Christian-based things.
Yeah.
And, I mean, part of it is, like, if I am on a call with somebody and I'm, like, going through, like, whatever it is that I'm helping them with on the coaching stuff.
Okay.
It's easier for them to understand if I speak of it in a way they understand.
Uh-huh.
So I have to be like, the best thing you can do for God is to be the best version of yourself because he gave you the ability to do so. Like, honor him in doing that. And then, like, they'll find out that I, like, identify as agnostic and they'll be like, and I'm like, you understood it, though.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, I mean, I grew up in a religious household.
Yeah.
Like, culturally, I am very Christian. Like,
culturally is a good way to put that. Yeah, culturally.
There is no way to escape that. Like, most of my culture and how I grew up is based in God. Like, and it's always going to come out one way or another.
Yeah.
Because it's what my environment is.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. So I was completely taken aback when he was like, no, I believe in God and Jesus. And I was like, right? Because at this point, like, I'm, like, deep in the hole. Like, I'm like, oh, but I, like, really like you. Like, like, so I'm like, okay. And I'm also very open-minded.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, tell me why, right? And then he asked me to go to church with him. And, like, just, like, yeah, I'm your girlfriend, woohoo, I want to be a part of your life. Like, sure. Like, I'm not a Christian. Like, we had the conversation. I was like, I'm not a Christian.
Yeah.
Like, and to be fair, in his credit, he executed introducing me to faith beautifully.
Okay.
Like, walked at my pace, was not, like, answered my questions, understood my questions. Like, yeah, anyways. But I started going to church, and my first turning point thought really was, I want to know what these people feel. I want to know why they're so convicted the way that they are, because I don't understand. I want to live a life, or, like, at least have a perspective of being so devoted unfailingly to something.
Yeah.
And so we started going to church, and I liked going to church. I liked the wisdom. I liked the songs. And then I started crying at church. And I was like, I literally would leave church absolutely sobbing. And I'd be like, I'm so sorry, I'm crying. I don't know why I'm crying. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Dude, no, it's so, even on the way here, bro, like, on the way here, I was like, I have to prepare myself because anytime, like, Jesus comes into the conversation or God, I have to be ready for some tears.
No,
like, I just have to expect them.
I can't.
Especially at church. Like, I will sit there at church just, like, holding back.
Like,
and they still just, like, face starts sweating.
I'm sobbing right now.
Yes, bro.
Literally the first church service I went to, which, again, another testimony to my faith, is like, God really understands how I work. I'm not somebody who's like, I need to acclimatize. You have to throw me in the deep end before I'm like, okay. Like, we went in, and this pastor, he's screaming. He's like, and this is what's, like, the sermon we were doing was love what God loves and hate what God hates.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a way to introduce me to this, right? So, and now we just started going. And then, like, there were so many times that, like, I understood, like, our relationship dynamic, like, pretty much from the jump was very serious. Like, I take you very seriously, you take me very seriously. And he made it very clear that he was like, what his intentions were, and that he wanted his wife to be a godly wife. And that his option was, you have to love God more than me. And, like, I mean, at this point, I'm sitting there, like, panicking because, like, I'm in love with you and this is stupid. And, like, I'm crying, right?
Yeah.
And I'm, like, trying to figure this out because it's, like, I don't get what you're saying. I really, really want to, but I don't. And, like, I'm sitting there crying. And, like, there was one night in particular. It was the first time that he out loud, knowingly of my knowledge, prayed for me. And because I was crying, and I was like, what if I'm holding you back? I was like, what if, like, I am not what you're supposed to be doing? And, like, what if I don't get there? And I am wasting your time, and I'm wasting my time, and I felt really, really bad. And also, like, for him and for me in the situation, but also I wanted to know what he was talking about so bad. Not because I wanted to believe what you were believing, but because I wanted to know this conviction. I wanted to know where you were coming from. And then after that, my life kind of took a turn. It was still super slow walking. Like, we had conversations all the time where I was like, I believe in God. Like, I believe in God, but not Jesus. Like, Jesus is the hard thing for me to grasp. And then weirdly enough, I don't know what it was. No answer. Just, we were on the way to my brother's senior pictures. And he refused to go take the pictures unless me and my sister took the pictures with him. Sidebar, don't know what that was. So I, like, drove down from North Carolina, like, all up in, like, this was a very serious time in my life where I'm, like, super questioning, like, myself. What do I believe? Like, because also, like, when you get into the thought of, like, what do I believe spiritually, you get into a lot of what do I just think in general.
Yeah.
And so, like, especially, like, pairing with his personality, that man will fight tooth and nail to the T of what he believes and why until the day he dies. It does not matter. Like, we even had the conversation one time. He was like, I don't care if you completely disagree with me. And I'm not fighting with you because I want you to think what I think. I want you to be able to explain yourself.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to tell me why you believe that.
And I'm huge on that. Like, thought is irrelevant if you can't explain it because that means you don't know what you're thinking.
Right.
Like, I don't care. You don't have to agree with me on everything. Learn to explain yourself.
Explain yourself. Tell me why.
Yeah.
So we were sitting there, and so, like, this time in my life, it was like 6 months where I was just, like, rethinking everything I ever thought. Things that, like, do I really like the color pink? What is it about pink that I like? Yeah. Like, going through, like, me. And so, like, we're on the way to my brother's senior pictures, and I came home from North Carolina, and I'm just in a super serious spot with myself of, like, who are you? Seriously.
Yeah.
Why are you you? And we're sitting there, and we're on the way to the pictures, and my brother said something. I don't know what it was, and all of a sudden, Jesus clicked in the picture.
That's how it is.
And
That's how it goes, literally.
And I was like, oh. And then, I don't know, that the only way I can describe it is like a little ember. That little ember of, like, Jesus clicked into the picture started a fire in my bones of I need to know more.
Yeah.
I need to know this. I need to know this conviction. I need to know this relationship, not just for, like, my brain, but because, like, my soul is literally hungry.
Yeah.
Like, there's a fire in my bones that I literally cannot explain to you. Like, and it was just that one instance. And it, like, it's just, yeah. So, like, and I hated this story for a really long time because, like, during that time, wanting something so badly on such a scale and, like, being like, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't get there is really upsetting and really frustrating. And I forgot where I was going with that. But anyways, that was my point. That was my story.
The whole Jesus thing is definitely hard to grasp.
Yeah.
But it's hard to grasp because a lot of people can't understand that, like, there's a big difference between God and Jesus. Mm-hmm. So when Christians talk about Jesus, they talk about Jesus like he is meant to be God. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot easier if you see him as just, like, a leader. Like, he is the leader in belief. Like, essentially, he is, like, the life coach in Christianity. So it's like he is all of this, but more than anything, he is a teacher.
Yeah.
For the people.
I think one of the big things that I would say, especially to people who are, like, curious and are like battling in this thought, is that one of the things that this is a fat book. This is a lot of information. And like sitting there and you're like, especially when you're like looking at belief and you're trying to get your like self to like literally just think anything other than like what I know and like what I have believed, what are my other options, is that you can't digest the whole thing.
Yeah.
You don't know the picture. You don't know what that looks like. It grows. Like, my understanding of Jesus has substantially grown since February in a way. Like, I don't really remember a lot of my life before I was this person. But this person is nothing like who I was a year ago. Absolutely nothing. I'm... like, there is no resemblance between the two.
So, just to pick your brain a little bit.
Okay, yes, I love this game.
Do you think... And I only say this because we were having the conversation of, like, the manipulation that goes into belief.
Okay.
And obviously, I'm not trying to say, like,
please.
You got manipulated into it or anything of the sort, but do you think if you would have found it on your own, the outcome would have been different?
So, here's my honest to God truth. This is a piece of my testimony, for sure. And this is me coming from... I have a better relationship with manipulation than most people do. I have a better awareness of manipulation than most people do.
Yeah.
So during this, I was always like, this is stupid. Like, even if I got there on my own, like, I was like, nuh-uh. And so, like, hold on. Let me tell you. I really and truly think, again, like, the whole timeline of, like, him and this whole thing was that, and I do, like, I appreciate the question of manipulation. Like, my desires started from, it wasn't him, it was the people. I wanted to know what they thought. I was good in the fact that, like, I didn't believe what you believed. I wasn't gonna believe what you believed because I just couldn't. That's such a big belief. Like, no way. Like, and it was nothing you could tell me that I would be like, okay, yeah. I really and truly believe that God knew that he was the only person that could change my mind.
Okay.
That could get me to look the other way. Because every other person would have been like, you're stupid.
Yeah.
You're stupid. And it's not because I think all other people are stupid. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was. But I really and truly think that God knew that he was the only person who could get me to question myself in that way. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say a second ago, glad I waited because now it ties in perfectly. The other side to that question is that, yes, I asked because I know that you're very aware of manipulation. Like, I know the way you think. But we both also know you have to allow manipulation in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have to allow what you choose to have that power over you. So the other side of that question is maybe it wasn't that he manipulated you into it, but could it have been that you just think so because it is manipulation which you allowed because of who he was in your life and because you trusted him and guidance? And I only ever ask this when it's the woman following the faith of the man.
Okay.
Because as a woman, you cannot truly connect with a man and, like, love a man to the extent that you should unless you trust him enough in his guidance. Yeah.
Oh, and that's a huge thing, too, especially in here. Let me tell you something. Learning to be a godly woman and follow a man, it's humbling. It's humbling, for sure. But it makes sense. That was also a war I fought. It makes a lot more sense, okay? It wasn't... Ask me the question one more time so I can better myself.
Do you think that it was just manipulation that you allowed because of who he was and what he meant for you? In the sense of, like, you trusted his guidance enough as a woman to allow it?
So, no. Because I initially thought that this was just such crap that I was like, I doubted his judgment. I doubted his ability to, which I clearly will openly admit, him telling me that he was a Christian automatically, like, kind of shut a door for me. Of, like, being like...
So, in the process of you slowly starting to believe, was there a separation between you immediately being like, that's crap, but obviously you didn't leave at that moment. So as time goes by, not only because of what he believes, but also because your relationship gets better, you learn to trust him more, you trust his guidance more, he shows you a better man, et cetera, et cetera. Was there a separation between him doing that just for you as humans in the relationship and then spiritually in faith? Or do you think it lined up like perfectly, basically?
So if I think how I'm understanding your question, I think yes and no.
Okay.
How I think I'm understanding your question. If I start answering this and this is not what you mean, correct me. Okay. I also say no because we didn't talk about it a lot.
Okay.
It was very much, when I tell you he executed it the best way he possibly could have, I mean that. I didn't want to talk about it. We went to church. That was good. I said what I had to say, and he would talk to his family about, like, and I would be around, and I'd be like, okay. Like, but we didn't really talk about it. But there was no difference in treatment, if that's what you mean. Like, there was not like necessarily like a growth in my disbelief and in my belief in that time. It was the same of how he treated me. If that's what you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, but more so just in the sense of, like, obviously you're going to trust him more 2 years down the line than when you first meet. So as you learn to trust him more and you learn to accept his guidance more and just being his partner, do you think that also affected the way that you started to open yourself to the belief? So it's kind of like, if he is this man, and I am trusting him to guide me, and I see that he is this good man, do you think that in your head, it was more like, if he is living like this and I respect him, then maybe it's attained to this, so maybe I should give it a shot?
So I would say that again, yes and no. So more of the yes of like I wanted to know the life. I wanted to know what you were talking about. I wanted to see, because like he made it very clear from the beginning, like, I'm a godly man. Yeah. This is how I'm going to behave. Like, he made that very clear. And it was like, okay, well, I kind of want to see what that life looks like. It was definitely, it was just a curiosity of like, I'm so interested in seeing what this could be, what this is, right? But again, that was more of a curiosity. I really would not tie, other than the introduction and like the support, my faith journey, to answer your question kind of in a different way, would not have gone as smoothly as it had if I had not had him walking ahead. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does.
Like, so like, yes, in that way, but also like, I didn't want to talk about it. Like, my getting to my faith was very much fist fighty, even like between the two of us. Like, I was like, no. Like, and he was like, yeah. And I was like, no. Yeah. So, yes, but no.
This is one that I like to ask everybody who's like fresh to it.
Okay. Love that.
So obviously there's a lot of things in life like that, or like even the whole like ignorance is bliss thing. Like,
okay.
There is peace in knowing less, and knowing too much of something can also be a curse.
Okay, yeah.
So I asked myself this when I was just telling you, like, had my moment that same day, like, need a Bible, super devoted, and I could never answer it for myself, and I still don't really know if I can. But do you think that there is a possibility that even though it's what you believe and, you know, what you think is right and all of this stuff, that it may hurt some people more than help them?
Say that again. The last part, I didn't hear you.
That it may help somebody more than help them?
hurt somebody?
Yeah.
And you mean that in terms of faith?
Yeah. Like maybe even just not being able to handle it to the point where like it does more harm than good for somebody.
It's a wonderful question. So my blatant answer is no, but it's a complicated no.
Okay.
No, if you're willing.
Okay.
And being willing is a very hard thing to do. Because if you can get somebody to listen to you, there's a good shot, right?
Yeah.
And if I could have gotten you to listen to me and you weren't willing to, it's very clear. And like, in the sense of like, I can tell you that I'm not the same person I was in February. The growth is insane, right? Yeah. But it's because when people say that God changes your heart, like when people are like, how do I stop sinning? It's not about you stopping sinning. It's about you getting closer to God and those sins come farther away from you.
Yeah.
Right? So in that sense, if you're not willing to like die to yourself in that way, which seems like, and like, I'd like to be completely honest with you, like, you know that your like flesh and your bodily self is hard to die to, when I've even had the question of like, I wish I never got here so I could do what I wanted to do. Like, I've had that thought multiple times of like, I wish I was never here because I just want to do this. So I think it is really hard if you're not willing, especially because if you're willing to listen, now you're going to be plagued by this question. And you're never going to have the answer because you're unwilling.
That's one I thought about before, but never like that.
Okay, what do you mean?
I mean, obviously, like, even before we even started filming, we were talking about, like, ambition and, like, all this other stuff and, like, goals. And part of me, when I started, like, questioning and turning away, that was one of my questions, is, like, I want to do everything I want to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can't while doing this. But I've never thought about it from that side. Like, it's a very fine line. And it makes things a lot harder to, like, even, like, I've seen really devoted in faith people, like, work in sales. And then there's a difference between those people and the people who have no faith. Because the people who have no faith, it's, like, almost difficult even to want to be a devoted person in sales, because you're watching these people with no faith and no devotion make that much more money that much quicker because they'll cross lines that this person won't.
Can I tell you one of my favorite things to repeat to myself when I have those thoughts exactly like that one?
Yeah.
Never compare yourself to where God has put you to where somebody much farther than you, Satan, put them.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's a walk with both. That's the perspective that I think a lot of people lack. Or you have to be, again, willing to believe this thing. I know that's a crazy thing to say, right?
Yeah.
And if you had said that to me a year ago, I would have been like, okay, right? Like, it's a walk with both.
But, okay, so I'm going to, like, completely dive into, like, sales environment right now.
Okay.
Just because that's the scenario we used. So I do get that, and I get the whole, like, don't compare yourself, like, Satan put them there, God put you here. But at the same time, it's, like, such a turpitude of judgment where it's, like, this person that is devoted and they're not crossing these lines, all of a sudden, they emotionally are happier at home. But maybe outside of that, not as fulfilled as this person. So it's like one of my mentors in sales, he actually, like, non-religious at all, like, thinks it's a whole bunch of bogus, etc., etc. And somebody else that worked with us was very Christian at the time, obviously, like, agnostic, not for all of that. So I came in and I, like, outdid him immediately.
Okay.
Because I walked that fine line, like, morally. And I had a big moment with myself where, like, I think the situation was this lady, like, she came in. I knew we fucked her over on a car.
Okay.
Cool, got paid, excited. Then I got home and slept on it and felt so shitty. Because I was like, I know we fucked her over. I know her story. I know this is going to be an issue. Like, I just made her situation worse. But I was talking to him about it, and he was like, I totally understand that. The difference is that if you ever want to live your life thinking about everybody else to that extent, you might as well have nothing for yourself. Because he was like, if you are going to worry about everybody you sell a car to more than yourself, do not get married, do not have kids. Because I do this, and it does suck because I still am human and I do have a heart, but I have to acknowledge that I am okay putting somebody else in a hole, because I also have to provide for my wife and my kid that I love and would go to the end of the world for. He's like, so you have to decide which one is more fucked up to you. He's like, you have to decide if it's more fucked up to do it to a stranger or you're doing it for the people you love.
I think that it's a very complicated philosophical question. Can I tell you from I am not a wife, okay? But from a sense of the perspective of a godly wife.
Yeah.
Don't fuck that lady over. But just because of even, I mean, I could pull you some literal Bible verses. I got some in my head right now. But just to like boil it down to something we say in worldly life doesn't matter. Of what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
Of like, if you put food in my mouth right now, that's great. But I have to go to sleep with the fact that I supported you doing that.
Yeah.
And I have to go because it's my job as a woman, like to my spouse and in that and a mother and also just as a human being that I take it in my own, is that especially like in the marital sense from what he's saying and the way that I'm taking this conversation is that it's my job to support you and push you to be the best and person you can be and the best reflection of Christ you can be. And if your options are to fuck this lady over and put food in my mouth or to let God do it, I'm going to let God do it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, Jesus even told his disciples, he was like, when you go out and you do this, do not bring an extra pair of clothes. Do not bring money. Do not do this. Because you have to have the faith in that way. God makes that very clear. It is very clear on how we are supposed to treat people, what we are supposed to do. And that if you do these things, God sees that and will replicate that. Like, I even take this, my mom is one of my biggest inspirations, faithfully, spiritually, faithfully and spiritually is the same thing. Faithfully, spiritually, physically, mentally, and just as a person, she's my biggest inspiration. But, like, my life and, like, how I've been able to grow up in her life, she was pregnant at 16, GED, whatever, and got us all here. But I truly believe, just because of, like, even what God says, I was reading to her the other day, like, in the book, it talks about what you will be given. If you can handle that, you'll be given more. No. And if you do it, if you give generously, the things, it's something I wish I could tell you verbatim, but it's literally what you do with your worldly possessions to benefit other people will be multiplied, right? And so, like, if you sacrificed yourself, because I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die, right? If I'm going to go hungry for a second, if I'm going to wear shoes with holes in them, if I'm not going to have a roof over my head, I am better at peace that you did the right thing to another human being, that I'll sleep peacefully at night about everything else.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, and that's a scary fucking thought, right? Because I don't want to be hungry. Like, I want my kids to live a good life. Like, that's a scary, very scary, and very serious thing for me to say.
So how much do you think you can actually commit to that? Like, say in the world, you wake up tomorrow and God takes everything away from you and takes everything away from your boyfriend.
Okay.
Let's say like 10 years down the line.
Okay.
You're married with kids, whatever.
Okay.
Whatever y'all's timeline is.
Okay.
Married with kids, though, if that is what y'all decide to do.
Gotcha.
Everything gets taken away.
Uh-huh.
How deeply are you willing to commit to the fact that it is okay because we have God still?
So that is a wonderful question. And I, like, to be frank, cannot answer that question for you. This is obviously how I think. If that were to happen to me, okay, like, I'm putting myself in these shoes, like, again, cannot answer for myself 10 years down the line when that happens, right? Yeah. That is a big, just Job. That is the biggest test of faith ever.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk into I don't know. I'm going to go somewhere where I can. I'm going to fall on my hands and knees and put my face in the dirt. Do it. Because I can't. Because I got there.
Yeah.
I can't pull myself out of this. I mean, like, I could, but I don't want to do it by myself. I don't want to do it by myself. I don't want to. Because, and I also believe in balance. I am such a big believer in balance. If everything hit the fan, everything was taken away from me. I'm talking, like, my kids are starving. I'm going to figure out something to do. But that is the biggest test of faith ever, and I can't tell you how I would react to that. I'm sure there would be times where I'm screaming, crying, telling God that I'm done. I'm talking like I'm throwing a tantrum. I'm walking out like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm doing it my way. I don't want to. Like, in my head right now, like, and if this ever happens to me and I change my mind, I'm going to give you a call. And I'm going to tell you. But my answer right now, I don't have any answer to any problem other than I'm going to go put my face in the fucking dirt.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Because at the end of the day, I don't know. And if you're telling me I have the option, and that's the other thing too that's so beautiful about the whole thing, is that crap or not, the thing that is so beautiful and so spiritually comforting is that at the end of the day, I am not by myself.
Yeah.
And not like in a way that's like, I can't sit alone, but in the way that I don't want to do this alone.
Yeah.
And let alone with all being all knowing, all powerful. Like, I don't deserve that. And like, yeah, sorry. Uh-huh.
No, I was going to say that's a big one. I tell people that a lot when they get into relationships, because I've had a couple friends that get into a relationship kind of like how you got into yours, where one is faithful, one is not. Mm-hmm. And every single time that, like, the conversation comes up, I always tell them that, like, you have to find in your partner what you cannot feel for yourself. And if not, like, if y'all can't manage to do that, there is no answer for y'all but God. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you may even find it, and now you both have a hole, and God has to fill it. Mm-hmm. But, like, I'm not the person that's like, don't use religion, or the person that's like, use religion, because it's all what works for you. Uh-huh. But you have to be humble enough in yourself to, like, realize what you can and cannot manage. Mm-hmm. So I know for a fact, like, if I have a partner and we are a perfect balance and all is well and we just, like, bounce off of each other perfectly, we may not need to fill that godly void. Now, if we can't, then there has to be something to fill that. Mm-hmm. And then maybe we do balance, and then we find a new hole. And then still, you would have to fill that with God. Because there's just things that you cannot do, and you have to be willing to accept that. Now, it may not be in a religion, it may be, or in a relationship, it may be in something else, but I think the biggest part of religion is, like, knowing at some point that you have to allow yourself to be humbled by something. And that That's why I always say, like, at the moment, it's where I'm at. And I'm also very big on, it may be something else that humbles me. Like, it may humble me and not steer me towards religion. But everybody needs to have that humbling moment in their life. And that, a lot of the time, is religion. A lot of the time, it is God. Like, you have to allow yourself the space to realize that you are not everything. And that's kind of what I'm waiting on.
Okay.
Is, am I going to be humbled enough to turn to God? Or am I going to be humbled and still realize that, like, I got this?
So I have two thoughts. First of all, and nobody wants to hear this either. Is that initial humbling is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
I'm nothing, dude. I don't know what's going on. I got this as good as I possibly can, right? And then this leads into, like, number 2. I'm good as I possibly can be. I can do this, right? And it's even, like, you can dumb it down to smaller things. Like, I, like, have the conversation of, like, at the end of the day, I want to be married. I want to feel this thing. I want to be 2 is better than 1. I want to do this. But at the end of the day, I'm good if I don't. I'm good with just me, right? It's not something I have to do. But you have no idea how much better your life could be. Like, my life is harder now, and my life is a whole lot different now. And you could throw any question at me. And I say that very humbly, but, and with pleading, my life, I would take right here, right now, I would take my faith and walk out that door, because there's not anything that I would give up. Because my life, with myself, with my spirit, with how I see the world, how I hear the world, my heart, my mind, everything is so much better than it was. Harder, yes. Better, yes. So that's what I'm saying. Like, chalk it up to crap or not. Don't care. We can have this conversation. I believe what I believe and you believe what you believe. At the end of the day, my biggest piece to you, my life is harder, yeah. But my life is so much better.
Yeah.
And I'm taking that and I'm running. Like.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the important part. It's just finding what it is that brings you that peace and that strength and, like, that level of wisdom to yourself. That's why, like, I just had this, I forgot who I was talking to, but I just had this moment with somebody the other day on the phone. They said something about, like, something they said was very, like, derogatory towards other religions.
Okay.
Specifically, like, other Abrahamic religions.
Okay.
And literally as soon as they said it, I was like, pause. I was like, if you're going to follow your God that they also follow, there is no reason you should be speaking of them the way that you are.
You shouldn't just do that in general.
Well, it wasn't like terrible.
No, I just mean, like.
Okay, I remember exactly what it is they said. It was something about the lines of Jesus. Because in the Christian religion, if you do not follow Jesus, you are bound to hell.
It's the door.
And then, yeah. So they said that, and I was like, pause. I was like, they believe in the same God. I was like, so what do you value more, your Jesus or your God? And they were like, well, God, but Jesus is the gateway. I was like, God. I was like, they believe in the same God. Jews and Muslims believe in the exact same God. They just do not believe he is the Messiah. I was like, you should not be speaking of them in that way if you all follow the same God.
I just think it even comes down to, in the faith, they will know us by how we love.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anybody to hear you when you're not doing it lovingly.
Exactly. And like that, I literally immediately paused. I was like, don't. I was like, I know I'm not, like, I'm very agnostic. I was like, but I'm also very big on, like, if you're going to do something, make sure you're doing it right. And you should not be speaking of them in that way, especially if you follow the same God. So, like, do not be that person that it has to be the way you're doing it or it's wrong.
The whole entire point is to mirror Christ. To be as Christ-like as possible. Jesus went to godless people and was like, hey, listen to what I have to say. The way is to not be like, you're stupid and you're dumb and wrong and you're not doing it my way.
No.
I don't want to do it your way when you're acting like that. Like, I don't want to do it your way because, you have to approach these things as Christ-like as you possibly can. And that comes with truth. That, like, the most loving thing you can do is be truthful with somebody. So even telling them, like, hey, like, in that sense, like, I don't think that you're believing the right thing. I think that you're missing a piece of the puzzle. That's not even necessarily how you should go about it. Yeah. But, like, in that sense, the way is still, like, it's going about it lovingly. Like, hey, hear what I have to say, man. Like, and it's also very clear of, like, Jesus also says, if these people say no, turn away and dust off your feet. Yeah. And keep walking.
Yeah, like, let them.
It's war, but it's not war. In the way that you think.
Subjectively, nowadays.
Like,
let's not forget all the babies who died for religion and all this other stuff. Like, it definitely has been war. That's also my other issue with it, is the fact that, like, God commands you to be good. Yep. But he also commands you to go and kill these people because they believe otherwise. You
got to get to new and old.
I mean, yeah, there's a big difference.
Old Testament God was, kill them.
Even New Testament God, though, technically, because after Jesus, there was Crusades and all this other stuff. And
hey, but that was people
murdering everybody.
I would take that as people. I would take that as human false judgment.
It is and it isn't, but that's where my question of, like, how real is your God? Because these people spoke to God, and God said, yes, this is what we should be doing.
So they said. I can manipulate myself into, I have to ask myself questions sometimes. I'll be praying and I'll be like, so, yes. No, that was me. Like, but, like, I have to, like, you can gaslight yourself. Yeah. It is a false, also, whispers in your ear. Again, I'm going to say I am huge on, it's a walk with both. The deeper you get into your faith, the more, and I can even just tell you this from yourself, the more the devil whispers in your ear. That go do that, sure. I'm sure it was there. But you have to sit there and you have to ask yourself, is that what Jesus would tell me to do? Killing all those people is not the way to go about it. Like, no. Revenge and justice are not for you. So if you have to go on any point where it's like, they did me wrong, got to do this, wrong. Yeah. That is not for you.
And I do love that, like, you keep mentioning, like, prayer, because prayer is such a beautiful thing. It really is. And I tell everybody that, like, I speak to people who aren't religious and they're like, it's bullshit. And I'm like, it's really not, though, because at the end of the day, like, you are just speaking to yourself and manifesting one way or another. Like, whether you believe that God is listening and he's going to help you and, like, hear you and, like, guide you. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't, you should still do it because there still is a benefit. Mm-hmm. Like, prayer is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And, like, somebody who can pray well is somebody who can guide well.
I agree.
Regardless of what your beliefs are. Mm-hmm. If you can, and you might not even call it prayer. Mm-hmm. You might just call it, like, meditating, speaking to yourself, whatever it is. If you can do that well, you can guide well, and you can live a full life. Mm-hmm. And if you can't, then that means you're missing something because you can't understand yourself. Mm-hmm. But I did have this random thought, too, while you were just talking. Okay. And bringing it back to what we were talking about before we even started. Mm-hmm. The whole, like, found God on a shroom trip. Uh-huh. There is, like, people out there who believe that when Abraham found God, he was on a psychedelic trip.
I believe that.
Really?
Or not that Abraham was on a psychedelic trip, but that's, like, a solid thought to, like, go through. That's like
how would you argue that is false, or would you, like, let that be in the air as a possibility? Because so DMT is naturally produced by your brain. It's the death chemical. So when people say, like, they see their life flash before them, that's what DMT is. Like, it produces that in your brain. If you take DMT, it is, like, the most, like, engulfing, crazy, like, psychedelic experience you can have. There's the argument that Abraham was on a psychedelic trip, discovered God, which is why he said, God came and talked to me. And then everything ran from there. And if that is true, it also, like, leaves space for the question of, like, how real
is anything true kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I could have a better answer. Come back and have this conversation when I research myself and read myself, okay? But my answer right now, subject to complete change, okay? So take everything I say with like, okay? True or not true? I think God works in every way possible.
Yeah.
So even if he was tripping, sure. And even if that wasn't what he thought it was, sure. I still think we got to where we were.
No.
I think God works in every possible way that you possibly can. So even if Abraham was completely out of his mind, we're still here. There's still the evidence, and I still say what I said, chalk it up to crap or not.
No.
Don't care. Like, I mean, like, I do. Like, let's have the conversation. But, like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my answer.
Okay. Fair enough. that is very true. That's what I tell everybody about whatever religion it is that, like, they follow. Like, you are where you are for a reason and because we needed it.